welcome to the show, Dede Talks, the Art of Specialty Lenses. We have a very special guest with us today, Dr. Scott Keating. We're here at Vision Expo. Dr. Keating, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been in private practice for about 31 of my 33 years. Just love having the private practice and the freedom I have to do what I want to do. And I have a very unique optical. We have eyewear from all over the world. And we try to dabble in some certain specialty contacts. And for a long time, I went around the country teaching doctors how to fit multifocals from certain companies such as Alcon.
So you said that you worked a lot with multifocals. What kind of challenges do you see with multifocal patients that you think you could talk about to help new practitioners to kind of get into fitting multifocals?
You know, sometimes I think almost the challenge is to talk the doctor more than the patient into trying them. They get so set in their ways of, I've always done monovision, but yet that decreases their stereo, binocular vision. And there's so many more new products out now that work so much better that I think they need to be, that's their first thing to go to and not be afraid to.
Right.
And as long as they know how to do the fitting, it works better. And then the nice thing for the patient is once they see that they can use both eyes and they can see the computer screen as well as down here, then they're much happier.
Right.
But there's certain expectations that the patient has to understand, which may be the harder thing. I'm not saying it's 100% perfected in multifocals. You have to understand it's comfortable vision. I see pretty well. I can read my cell phone, but maybe you can't thread the needle.
Right, exactly.
If we set the stage up front, there's a higher success rate. Yeah.
Well, and I found that when I was in practice as well, we tend to forget about what the patient really is asking for, or maybe the patient's not asking for what they really want. So when I was fitting multifocal lenses as well, it's all about interviewing the patient as well to find out that they're giving you all the right information.
And I think the key thing is give them the sample. Let them see the real world. It's like, wow, I can have more freedom of this and that. And check out the new comfort of the newer technologies.
Right.
Maybe they tried something years ago and it was a dryness issue because, face it, most of our people wearing multifocals are in their 40s or older, and our tear structure changes.
Yep.
And they go, well, they were too dry and blurred out. Well, here's some new stuff. I don't know, Doc. Well, just try them.
Yeah. How often do you use aspheric lenses for like the early presbyope?
So it's funny. I was just lecturing this morning on that. Like the biofini energies.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling people in the class when it's such a great, lens for that pre-emerging presbyope or digital eye strain.
Right.
Because I may not be exactly right when I say this, but I pretend that there's like a built-in plus 37 booster in there, but yet it didn't blur you out 37 in the distance.
Right.
So it's more single vision, so you see well, but you feel more comfortable. And I don't think that's very much underutilized. And so I like using that in the early ones who are not quite ready for a multifocal to have them strain.
Or don't want to admit that they're ready for multifocal.
Or we can go back to also a college student who does tons of digital work.
Exactly.
And it works for them too. It has to be, right.
So what's your percentage of gas perm multifocals to soft lens multifocals, and when would you choose one over the other?
Yeah, that's funny. I have a new young doctor with me, young associate. He graduated last year, and I think this gas perm is becoming a dinosaur to them. They're not trained like they used to be, and she's afraid, in some ways. But she's an excellent doctor. It's just they didn't have the experience coming out.
Right.
So some of the younger ones are afraid to step into this. But yes, like I use a product called SpectraView from ABB. I call it. Yeah. And I love the SpectraView gas perm multifocal. I think it was one of the better ones I've done in a long time.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Sometimes, obviously, it depends on the refraction, the prescription, the patient. But there is definitely times when you're going to get some clearer, better vision. If you go to these gas perms, and you just got to understand the patient understands that I need a few days to get used to the comfort. But then you tell them so many benefits when it comes to the health, the oxygen. Long term, it could even save them some money. Up front it's more, but I think once they see more of the clarity, and then of course there's certain corneas, because of the distortion for whatever reason, or high sill that. So, but the percentage, like you asked me. In our practice, it's probably 5%, but it's a nice little niche, so.
Any experience with scleral multifocals?
since I'm old school and we weren't taught that as much, we were, but we weren't, I have done a little bit when I would bring in the regional person to help me, which was nice. They were willing to do that. And it was a wonderful success on the times we've done it. My middle son, my youngest son, is going to be an OD with me next year.
Oh, fantastic.
And he just finished a rotation that the office specialized in that, and he's now so good at it. So guess who's going to be our...
Oh, that's fantastic.
Sterile. We want to create a niche because there needs to be a niche. Mm-hmm. My optometry AOA zone, my Ohio optometric zone, I'm from Ohio, we have a 5-county region for our local zone, and a message was put out to all of our doctors in the 5 counties. I need to refer someone to be fit, and I can maybe get the patient back after you fit them. Not one person was fitting them. So you want to talk about a niche.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? So I'm excited for him to come in and maybe take that over.
Well, and it also allows you to partner with the doctors in your area as well for something that is very special, especially with specialty lenses.
And I think that's a good point. We need to do that more often. Like, I'm not afraid to send some of my visual training therapy for amblyopics down the road to one guy who that's all he does. And he's very good about giving them back to me, you know. And I think we want to be that way too, especially.
And I think for new optometrists, it's really important to know that, to be able to share that and do continuation of care together.
Yes.
Especially when you're talking about specialties like this.
Yes.
So, and there's a couple of new multifocals on the market, scleral multifocals, that are doing some things as well with decentered optics and such as that are really good, that are working quite well.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, have your son talk to us. It'd be great. So, where do you see yourself growing with ABB in the future?
So with ABB, it's interesting. There's a lot of choices out there. All these initials, different companies you can choose from. OGP, WVA, whatever ABB. Maybe I'm old school, but I like to have a rep that's there for me when I need them. And you would think that's just a common sense thing, but you would be surprised nowadays with customer relations. It seems to be going down the tube more. And I originally came back over to ABB actually due to loyalty to a sales rep I've known for many years who became a regional manager of ABB, and I respect him. So I chose to go back and try ABB, and I've been very satisfied with ABB. With my experience with Marlowe, with Alcon, and how well it's worked, I am excited to learn more about Abby and some things that way, because it sure does free up our staff not having to deal with the contacts coming in, check it in, make sure it's right, call the patient. Do we have to mail it or get it to them? There's just so many things that it's nice. But right now I'm just pigeonholed into one brand, Alcon. Now I can use multiple brands. So I think ABB is going in the right step that way. Our customers are getting more and more, obviously we want it now instant, and they don't want to necessarily take the time to come back into the office to grab their lenses because a mail order company will send it to them gladly, and that's one way we can match that and say, we have no problem sending it to you. And they're actually shocked. Usually the private practice says, well, we'll send it to you at no charge, And so I see growth upcoming with this product, Abby, and they're just servicing me and taking care of me, so that's important.
So very soon, Abby will be able to text, remind the patients and things like that. What kind of value does that have for you in your practice?
Where I see that helping with our software program, we had switched over to texting reminders for appointments and stuff, and we're getting much more better, consistent results with texting than we were with calling them, leaving messages that, on the phone that, hey, for some reason, they'd rather see the text, the younger people. And we have a higher rate of return of, for whatever reason we're texting them, they get back to us much better. So now that you guys are looking into that too, I think that'll remind them better. Oh yeah, because just like, I may get my 6-month dental reminder. It's like, it's been 6 months,
Exactly.
It's like, I didn't realize, and so when they get their text, like, oh, I didn't realize, it's coming on a year already, So I think it's kind of that kind of thing.
Well, I know ABB too tries to partner with all of the different pillars that we have. We have optical labs, we have contact lenses, we have our business solutions. So partnering with the practice, I think, is really important, and knowing all of those pillars that are available through ABB. So how do you see yourself partnering with all the different aspects of ABB, and where would that create success?
I would like to say to you that I know all the answers to these questions, but I think sometimes us doctors get so busy and we don't give the hat to someone else to do something else, that I haven't taken the time that I should take to look into your site and see some of the availability. Now, don't get me wrong, my reps sometimes bring things up and almost virtually pat her on the back and say, yeah, I'll look into it, and I don't do it.
Yeah.
So I think it takes, the doctors need to, quote, just do it like Nike, and we need to take our end a little bit more and say, what do you have available? Because sometimes you folks will tell me something like, well, I didn't know I could do that. That may be a lot better for my practice. I don't think it's laziness on our part. It's just that we got so much going on.
So much going on and so busy.
And so I guess it is good that the rep tells us, but then what's the other thing? You lead the horse to water.
Right.
And they lead me to the water a lot, but I don't necessarily.
Sometimes practitioners get stuck in their ways, maybe?
Oh, that's for sure. That is for sure. We definitely do. It's hard to change us sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I think as long as I think there's a lot of things out there that's probably offered that I haven't maybe touched the surface on some, and I need to. So, yeah.
Well, and you said, too, you have a new colleague that's coming in, and now your son is coming in. Yes. So that, in turn, with the different generations of optometry, you see different changes, and we see a lot of these people doing, social media and things like that for advertising, and I think that's very helpful as well.
Well, I tell you what's changing, and maybe I just have a smaller, skewed, whatever view of this, but these younger doctors coming out in general, they're not that interested in the optical anymore. They're not. It's amazing. It's like we were brought up my age to do it all. We could fix the frame. We could go out, if we had to. They want to do medical and maybe some specialty contacts, which is good.
Exactly.
But there's still a lot of money out there in the optical, and it's not. I don't know how to say this. We have our opticians that are out there doing the job, but we need to set the stage for the optician, because what we say in the room is kind of gospel God, but if we tell them out there, we just sell them.
Right.
We tell them in the room, and sometimes there's a little bit lack of that optical side being done nowadays. I'm seeing from, I'm not saying necessarily my associate, but just in general, I give a lot of talks to young OD groups and stuff, and they're like, the optical. You got to have your thumb on some stuff, I think.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
I don't know if I got off tangent a little bit there, but it is nice. The young ones coming out, they're really being trained well, which is good. I mean, we didn't have such things as an OCT, back in the old days, and now it's like, they don't have one. It's like their right arm is gone, and so it's nice technology-wise that they're on it. And then you're right, Facebook and things like that. It's nice to put them more in charge of overseeing it, at least.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. It's good to have the different generations, that's for sure. And yet they'll come to the old parts, and go, I see this. What kind of medicine would you give? Well, for 30 years I've done, it's a give and take.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Dr. Keating, I know that we're seeing now in the industry a lot of online eye exams and things like that. What do you feel are the drawbacks to that?
The first thing I'll say, we'll talk about health in a minute, that's a given, but take, for instance, in our offices, the auto refractor, okay? Yes, it's a tool, but is it ever 100% correct? No. And it's right there. It helps us maybe determine some starting points, but very rarely is it, dead on. So now you take this online thing that maybe isn't quite as advanced as that.
Right.
These prescriptions, there's no way that they're going to be close enough. Now, as we all know as doctors and opticians, if you're a -1 sphere and the thing, test you to -125. But if you're high stigmatism, anisotropia, one eye's partially on your side and stuff, also on these tests, if you're younger, and I mean younger as in, I don't know, let's say especially 25 and under, you over accommodate. And next thing you know, even though you were truly -1, the test showed -3.
Right.
Like an auto-refracting sign. Now these poor people get this prescription and can't see, headaches, binocularity goes down, So there's just no way that it can be accurate enough that you should be going by that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and then you switch it over to the health side of trying to say do contact something on it. I mean, how do they know? There's just we can go to such a depth of how they know what's going on health wise. You can't see the little blood vessels growing in from overwear, the neovascularization.
Yeah, exactly.
Just this last couple of weeks we found some tumors and stuff in people's eyes. I mean, it's like you're missing out on that. It's like it's just a quick and easy way, but even if you were healthy, thank goodness. Again, like the first thing I just said, there's no way it's going to be that close. And then don't even get me started on where to put the bifocal.
Yeah.
Where to hide it.
And even if you feel like, or as a patient, you feel like that you don't have a problem, you may have a problem that's been undiagnosed, and it may not get diagnosed.
Which happens more than people think. It really, really, truly does. It's amazing what we pick up anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially using the OCT machines and things. I mean, it's just like, wow, you catch it early.
So how do you think you would determine how to educate your patient or what the patient's needs are when it comes to different types of multifocals or different types of options that they may have for presbyopia or myopia?
We're often very surprised that they have never heard of multifocals and they came in wearing monovision because that's what their doctor had always given them. Some adapted okay, and others think that that's just my only option, and I don't want to wear glasses, so this is what I have to do. A problem sometimes with some doctors is, I'm going to call it chair time laziness. Oh, you're doing okay in your monovision. Well, they don't know if they're doing okay, so they just think they're doing okay. Yeah, I'm okay. I can see you've been wearing this. There you go, there's your script, and they don't take the chair time to go in education. So part of it is a doctor willing to take the time and show them the benefits of trying multifocals. That used to be what I do for a few years. I was by one of the one of the contact lens companies. I would fly around the United States every other month and get a group of doctors together and teach them to feel more confident and reduce their chair time on how to fit multifocals.
Right.
Because it's a little more chair time. You can also charge more.
Right.
And so part of it is, the big step is that doctor needs to, first of all, have the tools.
Right.
Sometimes a doctor doesn't want to listen to ABB's sales rep because they're a sales rep and they're the doctor. You get some personalities that way. And they're not going to listen and say, hey, here's some products, So we would hope then what happens is maybe on a different level, maybe it's the contact lens rep from Cooper or Alcon or whoever that says, here's something, but are they going to listen to them? So that's why some of the companies now are having the ODs talk to the ODs.
Peer to peer.
Explain to them, yes, if you truly try this and do this, this is what's going to happen, and then you're going to benefit financially on fitting the multifocals, but the patient is also going to benefit because we don't want to be set up. We're in business to make money, but what's our bottom core, what's right for the patient. Right. And by going into the multifocals, I tell my patients, listen, you're wearing a monovision, and they say, what does that mean? Sometimes you don't know what that word means. I'm just saying, well, you got one eye out in the distance and one eye reading. So I said, that's kind of like, if it's fit perfect, that eye's 100%, but this eye's 0%. Now on a multifocal, I'm going to give you 95 and 95.
Right, exactly.
Now all of a sudden it's like, my depth is better, and I was looking this way to drive. Yes, I can see better. And it's just what the body wants. It's what the brain wants, is both eyes. And so usually it's much better right off, but sometimes the brain has been conditioned, and you got to give them a little time to adapt, So I think once you explain to the patient, it makes more sense to them. Why wouldn't I want both eyes, Then you got the patient went over to try them, and then it's basically, trying them. But the doctor needs educated to do that. Yes.
Well, and two, the patient comes into the practice and says, oh, I can't wear contact lenses. I've been told for years I couldn't wear contact lenses. And so how would you handle a patient that says, oh, no, I was told?
It's interesting. We were doing for a while a survey. It was a couple of simple questions on, and I'll get around to what you're saying, but it was, how the conics feel comfortable as you put them in, and at the end of the day. And they may check off the end of the day on a 1 to 10 scale, maybe they checked off a 3 or 4, so it was like, okay. But when my technician was asking them, how are you going through contacts, I'm okay. I don't know if they were afraid to say something, or I'm going to get in trouble, or I don't know. It's like, I guess the patient doesn't know. They think this is as good as it gets.
Right, exactly.
So they say, I'm okay. But then they come into my room, and I would read up there in the top of my EHR, I'm doing fine or okay. But I looked at that piece of paper, but you wrote down a 3. Well, doctor, and it's like there's so many new products out in single digit, spherical, multifocal, and let's try this. Or like you mentioned, I couldn't wear them in the past because they were so dry. Well, especially in some of these dailies nowadays, some of those materials. So the proof is just putting it on them. So sometimes what we do, if they're like, I don't know, doc, I'm been used to wearing my glasses. I don't know if I want to go back, and I'm still not so sure. I'll say to them, you know what? You're farsighted. Hey, while you're out looking at glasses, let me throw a pair in you of dailies so you can see the board and try your glasses on better. And I put them in. They're like, well, I don't really feel this right now. This is different.
Right.
And we kind of get them into, that contact. It may not be that day, but they came back when they came to pick up their glasses. And so we just had them wear them for a brief period of time.
Right, exactly. So our show is called Dede Talks, Art of Specialty Lenses. So one of the things that we try to focus on a little bit is some artistic talent. So every OD that I've ever met has an artistic talent that they may or may not want to get out there into the industry. So tell us a little bit about your artistic talent.
I sound just like Elvis when I sing. No, it's kidding.
Then you have to sing for me because Elvis is one of my favorites.
You know what? I was thinking about that. I don't know if I want to call it a talent, but I'm very good at being Santa Claus.
Oh, really?
In our home area, we do the Polar Express. We have the actual trains and the stations, and I just have a passion having fun with the children. And that's not really an artistic thing, but I like getting on their level and having fun being Santa. And sometimes I'm the storyteller, so I'm not Santa, but I talk about the story, and I'm in charge of the train. And so every Christmas I enjoy doing the Polar Express on a non-optical talent thing. That's just something I enjoy. It's not like a whatever, but some people are afraid to get in front of people and do things.
Exactly.
And I'm not afraid to do that. And I enjoy seeing their faces and talking to them about things, And but maybe on the optical side, I think I have a niche for. I can tell a woman's face and what frame really looks good on her. I think there's an art to that sometimes. And over these 30-some years, they've gotten used to that, especially the ladies. And they almost demand that I come out and they're down to the last couple of choices. I make the final decision with them because they trust me over the years. Right. But as my wife says, she does admit that I'm good at that. But then she'll say to me, I can't believe you wore that as an outfit without me. How can you be so bad that way and so good that way? So I do have my problems.
All right, fantastic. Dr. Keating, thank you so much for being with us today. We really enjoyed having you.
Thank you.